This is the Mannin Line on location.
Faster by, good afternoon. Welcome to Mannin Line on location today. We're live at Ballakermeen High School with the students of Ballakermeen talking about, well, how they see the world, what their opinions are. You may be surprised, you may be shocked in the next hour, but we're going to hear from them. And remember, they are the taxpayers of the future. They're the voters of now. So here we go, live at Ballakermeen High School for Mannin Line on location. We always talk about driving lessons on Mannin Line when we come to the schools. It's a big contentious point of view. If you've passed a driving test, if you've been driving for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, you're wondering what the fuss is now about this. Lubo, what's the big fuss about driving and getting driving lessons?
Well, for me, I passed my theory test in April, and then since that moment I have been searching for an instructor, and it came out to be impossible because me and my mother activated ourselves and emailed and called every instructor on the island that the government got on their website, and then nearly all of the 5 ones which responded with something of the sort: we got longer list than 24 months. We cannot put you on our waiting list, but if you want, you can try after that. And then we asked around, and it came across that due to the COVID, many instructors have actually dropped it because they were privately run.
So 2 years before you can get some lessons?
Yeah, which would mean that my theory would have expired and I need to pay the £36 to go with it again and study it again and everything.
And Tommy, are you taking lessons?
I've finished lessons. I passed my test on Valentine's Day. Actually, it's pretty easy to remember there. But I only managed. Well, I had to be signed up since I was 14. I signed up to driving lessons on my 14th birthday. I only managed to get into them because my instructor was my sister's ex's father. So, hi, Duncan.
Manx solution. How much were you paying per lesson?
I think it was around £40 per lesson.
And how many did you have?
50. I can't remember now. I'd say about 20 at a rough guess.
So you're driving a car now, are you?
Yeah, I'm driving it now.
Yeah, you drive to school?
No, because I live about 5 minutes away from the school.
Okay, and Vinn, are you taking driving lessons?
Well, actually, I finished taking my driving lessons around about December and then proceeded to pass my test in January, at which point it means I've had my license for about half a year now. And I will say that this stipulus that a lot of the driving instructors are difficult to get a hold of is definitely correct, because for the most part, a lot of them are fully booked. And even if you do manage to get someone to give you lessons, a lot of the time you will have difficulties with cancellations because people who are closer to the test will get priority over you, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing because it's important to get as many people passing as possible. But on a similar note, it makes it very difficult for people at that entry level to begin the experience of learning to drive a car. In which case, it could, potentially lead to some problems when it comes to teaching future young generations to learn to drive as well. Okay,
Gavin, are you on Twitter?
Yes.
You're on Twitter. Have you been on Twitter long?
No, I mostly used to use Twitter. I wouldn't post much, but I would find news, find things that interested me. And
how many people do you follow?
I couldn't give you a number.
Lots?
If I tried. Yeah, lots of people. And the way the Twitter system works, obviously you don't just see the news from the people you follow, you see the news from the people you don't. So it gets very interesting because you can see things that people you follow agree with or disagree with, reposts and the liked and such. So it's definitely interesting. Yeah.
Do you watch news on television at all?
No, things like Twitter, and I've got an app on my phone that just gives me all the news from niche topics that no one cares about except maybe me, to the big news, the headlines, stuff like that.
Do you think Twitter's changed much since Elon Musk bought it?
Absolutely. You can't argue otherwise. The introduction of the Twitter Blue subscription, taking away the point of the verification system, meaning that people can impersonate famous people, and it takes away that sense of reality from the situation.
Yeah. Liza, you wanted to mention that something's changed with Twitter, you think?
Yes, I think so, and especially after Elon Musk bought it. I'm used to search news on different resources, and Twitter was one of them. But I've started to notice that lots of important information which maybe Elon Musk or his moderators wouldn't want people to talk about, so they just banned. And there's, last week I think was introduced a new app from Meta, Threads, and comparing them, because they are very similar in use, I can see that Threads are not banning any of this information.
And when you say information, what sort of information?
I'm Ukrainian, so I used to try to find as much as possible news about Ukraine, and like information about lots of crimes made in there. It's just been banned.
So you think that Twitter has moderated the news coming from Ukraine? They've changed it?
Maybe, possibly. I'm not saying that it was largely based on this, but it's one of the...
Wow. Who else is on Twitter? Okay, Lily, you're on Twitter, yeah? Ellie, yes. Hurry, Ellie.
I'm on it mostly to follow politicians and stuff, to gain information for my politics A-level, as it's a current affairs course. So I follow most politicians to get the latest news. But I feel as well there's stuff on there that isn't included on the news, like a lot to do with Hugh Edwards, for example. There was a lot on Twitter that wasn't in the news because you got a wider picture, and I think that's really important, to not get just what the main news channels are putting at you, to get your own perspective and be able to come up with your own opinions.
I mean, how do you think how do you think social media affected the Hugh Edwards situation?
I think it exacerbated it and made it a lot more so people were speculating, because obviously he wasn't named until very recently, and I think it meant a lot of people speculated, and it pulled a lot of other people from the BBC. I can't give out names apart from like Graham Norton off the top of my head. Put them in a situation where they were being criticised for something they hadn't done, and resulted in them being put in a negative light and potentially damaging themselves because of the stuff that went out.
What are you hoping to do at university?
History and politics, with the aim to become a history teacher,
okay.
hopefully.
Any particular university in mind?
I'm thinking Birmingham, hopefully, if I can get an offer from there.
Okay. And what's the politics course like at Ballakermeen?
Oh, it's amazing. The teachers are absolutely incredible, and they go above and beyond to make sure we have a understanding of everything, and they're constantly outside of school sending us news articles and allowing us to gain access to the wider world. And
how many in your class?
I think there's about 12, so it's quite a small class. There's like 3 girls and the rest are boys, and then we basically are able to we look at the US and the UK, and then we do political ideologies, so it gives us a wide understanding about how the world works. Okay,
everybody wants to know, because a politician said yesterday that, I think she said something like, was it 30% or 70% of food at school was ultra-processed? So I just wonder, what's the food like? What are the school dinners like at Ballakermeen? Tommy?
Being honest...
Is it ultra-processed?
I think here is probably better for that kind of thing than other places. It's like, obviously there's the idea that, all school food is awful, but from my experience, I get canteen food every day. It's honestly not that bad.
Is there a kitchen here?
There is a kitchen, yeah, which seems to get bigger every time I see it. But no, honestly, from my point of view, it's underrated.
Ellie?
I was going to come up with a point of view about, whilst the canteen here is able to provide a lot of different food, as someone who can't eat gluten due to medical reasons, I find the only thing I can eat is a jacket potato, and in that case there is always the risk of cross-contamination, which is something I can't risk. And so it's quite hard coming from that point of view. Whilst they try their best, they're not able to provide for people who have allergies, and I think that's quite hard itself.
Okay, Gavin?
I think the problem as well is obviously, even if people argue that food is processed and stuff, does that come from a place of funding? The school can only buy the food that we can afford, etc. If we can't afford things to care for our students, like looking out for intolerances and avoiding contamination better,
Do you eat school lunches?
I used to. I don't anymore. I bring my own packed lunch to save money.
Right. Okay. And it's, let me see, it's Jenna.
I just want to bring up a point about, I think it was a few months ago that me and my friends were down in the canteen, and there was a girl, I think she must have been in year 8 maybe, and she asked one of the canteen ladies if the meal was halal, and they couldn't give her an answer basically, and said they don't know because they don't know what it's been crossed with.
Right.
Or and I did see the girl walk away without any lunch because they didn't know if it was halal or not. So I think that's something that the school need to think about more when it comes around to that kind of time.
And Daniel, what do you think of the food at Ballakermeen?
Hiya. Oh, I don't know. Well, I don't really eat the school lunches.
Do you have school lunches?
I used to, but I'm really picky. So now I just go to the shop, and also I can never really be bothered putting money on the card because it's all a confusing system.
Do you go to the shop and buy?
Yeah. So I check to the shop, and then.
How much do you spend every lunchtime?
Well, that's a recent issue actually, because I spent a lot of money, and recently I thought my car got cloned, and I thought I got forwarded, but it turns out I just spent all my money. And I went to the bank and I was like, my car's been stolen, but it's irrelevant. But I do think prices obviously cost of living.
Yeah.
So as well as it's great going to shop when you're a picky eater and picking what you want, but it's also impossible because prices.
Lubo.
I would like to speak from the point of view from a person who gets the government funding for the school lunches. As in around the end of COVID, when all the gas prices started peaking due to the like all those gas prices and everything being difficult to reach the islands. My family, which is like a single mother, is very financially weak, and we got the government funding. But then sometimes this government funding is not even enough to get me a bottle of water with my lunch, and like when I ask what's inside this lunch, they don't even know what their ingredients are. They got like, they tell you the basic things which you can see. Like they'll say there's tomato that has a red color, there's maybe some carrots, and then they'll tell you the type of meat, and that's everything they know about it. But they don't know the main ingredients, and they wouldn't.
Well, I do think it seems to be a very big problem that a lot of the meals the school provides are not actually thoroughly checked as much as they should be.
Checked in what way?
To see what components they're made up of, so that we can provide for people with allergies or specific diets and stuff. Because I think that's a big part of our community, actually, is that we try very hard to make sure we can be as eco-friendly as possible, or perhaps we just aren't able to consume certain types of foods, and not giving accessibility to these people is a little bit disrespectful in my eyes.
Okay, who's got a job here? Okay, Gary, what do you do?
I work in operations at Marks and Spencer's.
What days do you do that?
Well, I normally do a Thursday night 5 till 8 and a Sunday 8 till 5, but for the last 2 weeks now I've been doing extra hours. I've been working Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays.
What does that mean,
Saturdays,
operations?
Sundays. Operations, so we control bringing out the stock for people who work in the food hall. We, when a trailer comes around the back, we empty the delivery. We lock the store up, open the store.
Do you enjoy it?
I do enjoy it. Yeah, it's a good job.
What do you do with the money? Save or spend?
Oh, I'm saving at the moment, but usually I do spend quite a lot of my money. I mean, I get paid weekly, so it'll go in about...
How long have you been there?
I started a year ago in the food hall, and then they switched me to operations this February they did.
Who else has got a job? Maddy, what do you do?
I work at JD Sports.
Really?
Yeah.
Free trainers?
No.
What led you to getting... Why did you want a job?
Well, I did have a job at like a hotel, but I wasn't really feeling that anymore. I didn't really want to be there anymore, so I kind of was just looking for other jobs. And
is it hard work?
To be honest, it is, but it's like very fun. Like I really enjoy it.
Do you work with the public?
Sorry?
Do you have to serve retail? Or?
Yeah, so you're either like put upstairs where you're doing delivery, so you're like putting out all the the clothes and bringing down the shoes for the people that are wanting like to buy them, or you're downstairs, so like serving the people the shoes or on the tills and stuff like that.
Okay, who over here's got a job? It's Lilea-Mae.
Yeah, I work at Tesco.
What do you do?
I work in the dairy department and I stock the shelves, I clean the shelves, that sort of thing.
What made you want to get a job?
Well, I've had previous jobs in catering, but they weren't really my sort of thing, and I just thought that Tesco could be quite interesting because it's a big company, lots of people go there, it's well known, which will help when I want to get a job later on in life because it's a very big company that can give good recommendations about me.
And what A-levels are you doing?
Sociology and photography.
And that will lead to what? To what do you want to do?
Well, I want to go in the RAF police.
And what stages are you in, the air cadets or anything at the moment?
No, I did police cadets for a while, but my time finished on that. So I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I can do to help.
Okay, why RAF police?
I don't know. When I was in the police cadets, I thought that doing the policing was really interesting. I liked speaking to people and knowing all the behind the scenes of what's going on, but I wouldn't want to be stuck in one place doing something. So if I was working on the island, I would be limited to just the island.
And what did you learn about policing that you didn't know before?
Well, it's not just all about like arresting people and things like that. There's a lot of other things that go on, like all the community outreach and going to events and just being there for the public as a support system.
Did you wear a uniform?
Yes.
Okay. And just tell me, I'm just keen to know, why RAF and not any other force?
I don't know. My family is quite military based, and my uncle's in the RAF and he really enjoys working in that, so I think that sort of influenced my decision quite a lot.
Okay, anybody else with a job there? And yes, we've got it's Ellie.
Yeah, so during the summer I work in a local nursery with the preschoolers and the summer club, and I find that's amazing because it's getting me experience for the real world because I do a lot of in-girl guiding. I'm a leader for a Brownie group, and this all leads to me being able to get experience to be a teacher, and it also allows me to save, and that's the main reason I have a job, to put myself through university and to be able to save that money to be able to pay, because obviously we have to pay a ridiculous amount, even though the government's subsidised money, not all of us get a grant to be able to pay for accommodation, so that all has to come out of our pockets. The
teachers who are listening to this programme in the common room will be wondering why you want to be a teacher.
Well, I think there's a lot of people say stuff about teachers that they don't work hard enough, they don't do a lot. There's been a lot in the media recently, but I think teaching is just the most amazing job. All my teachers are incredible, they're so supportive, they go above and beyond, and I think being able to provide that and seeing kids flourish and seeing them figure something out, or just in general giving them that support and being there for them, I think is so important. And you're teaching the next generation of people who could be lawyers, politicians, police, anything. You're giving them that opportunity.
Okay, we're live at Ballakermeen High School with the students at 24 minutes past 12.
5.75% gross AER.
What?
5.75% gross AER on savings.
Really? That can only be on a Guernsey-based Skipton International fixed-rate savings account.
I thought that would get your attention. Yes, right now, Skipton International is offering a fixed rate of 5.75% gross AER when depositing £50,000 or more.
Call 01481 730 730 or find out more online at skiptoninternational.com.
Skipton International is licensed to take deposits by the Guernsey Financial Services Commission and is a participant in the Guernsey Banking Deposit Compensation Scheme. Details at dcs.gg. Terms and conditions apply.
The only thing worse than the agony of toothache is the agony of waiting days to get it treated. Not anymore. Tracy Bell in Douglas and Castletown offers same-day or next-day emergency appointments from £95, whether you're registered with us or not. Toothache, broken teeth, fractured dentures, 7 days a week, Tracy Bell's Dentist can help you. For emergency appointments, call 613323 or 494 327 out of hours, and we'll take the pain away.
Grill, bake,
steam, boil, stir fry, simmer, fry, roast, slow cook, griddle, toast. An Aga can do it all. An Aga isn't just an amazing cooker, it's a way of life. Aga specialist Haldane Fisher can recommend an Aga for every home. Call in store and discover the range and join thousands of owners who love coming home to Aga's warmth, style and practicality. Haldane Fisher for Aga, home to great cooking.
This is the Mannin Line on location.
We're live at Ballakermeen High School with, I've forgotten what were we going to talk about. What was it, Gary? What were we going to chat about? I can't remember. Oh, it was UFC. No, it was UFC, Gavin, wasn't it?
Well, we were discussing before we went live about the idea of women fighting in competition level, so boxing and UFC, and I think it's an interesting topic. You were saying that you've heard that some people say, women shouldn't be allowed to get into this sport, and I think that's a frankly disgraceful opinion to have. I mean, having been someone who follows boxing with my friends a lot, I have a friend who's an amateur boxer. We watch boxing all the time, and I think that the women's level is just as good as the men's, if not better. It's one of those things where, regardless of gender, the athletes come in all skill levels, and it's never one-sided as is with some other sports.
Tell me about this YouTube channel.
So I watched a series with my friends called Misfits, which is it's run by DAZN, who are a really big company that do pay-per-view for sports of all kinds, and it's ran by a few YouTubers who bring together other famous figures to box each other. Now, they box at a professional level, not at an amateur level, but they're like amateur boxers. Some of them have been boxing for years outside of this event, and some of them are brand new to the sport, and it brings people together, and I think it's reviving the sport of boxing as a whole, where I think it's gone downhill in favour of competition sports like UFC, which has gone up since its start. Boxing is one of those ones that used to be big with the big names of Muhammad Ali, Tyson Fury, and they're not as popular now, and I think this is a really great revival.
Why do you think UFC has become as popular as it is?
I think it's because boxing it's an amazing sport, don't get me wrong, but it's very set. There's only so much you can do, and I think seeing the new ways people push their bodies and themselves to the limits to compete at the highest level, I think as well, almost the lack of rules makes the whole system work better. In the sense that there's more competition, there's more people can explore how they can fight, how their bodies move, how they can compete at the best they can be. There's people that are better at one side of it than the other, whereas boxing, it's very much, can you throw your arms at someone and move out the arms of the way of someone else?
Okay. All right, thanks, Gavin. Jenna, you wanted to talk about the national health, yeah?
Yeah, I just want to talk as someone myself who wants to go into the nursing sort of world. I just think at the minute it's an absolute, I don't want to say disgrace, but it's going that way, because I don't think that nurses get enough appreciation for what they actually do. Whether as if you're a doctor, say you work, say 10, 12 hours, but you're getting paid. I know there's a new thing coming about junior doctors at the moment about their pay, but you're getting appreciated for what you do, whether as nurses, they're working 12, 13-hour shifts, and they're getting slated for going on strike, or whether people just don't understand how much they actually have to do.
Tell me, why do you want to become a nurse?
Well, ever since I was little, my dad kind of said to me, I've always been quite a caring sort of person, like, or want always put others before me. Like, I'd always make sure someone's okay before, like, I would be okay. And I think it's just a very respectable, like, you get to help people every day, and it's very rewarding, I think.
And what are you doing? Which A levels are you doing?
So I'm doing a bit of a mixture. So I'm doing sociology, BTEC sport, and drama.
And what sport do you play?
Golf.
And what do you play off?
My handicap's 14.3.
Which course? Which club do you play at?
Mount Murray's my home course, but I was down at Castletown for quite a while, which is a not very nice course.
How long have you been? Oh, it's links, isn't it?
Yeah.
How long have you been playing golf?
So I moved to the Isle of Man when I was 7, from Northern Ireland, and I started playing, I think, about a few months after I moved over here, because my dad and my brother both play. And my brother's actually going away to America this year for a golf scholarship. So it was kind of I wanted to sort of competition, basically. I wanted to beat him, and obviously he's won. But, yeah.
Well, that's good. Anybody else play golf here? No, you're the only golf player.
I'm a golfer.
Aaron, are you a Premier League fan, Aaron?
I am not, no.
Do you follow football at all?
I do not, no.
Do you follow any sports at all?
Not particularly, no.
Do you play sports?
I used to do kickboxing.
Yeah.
Did that for like 7 years, but then dropped out.
But it's quite big on the Isle of Man, isn't it, kickboxing?
Moderately.
And why did you suddenly stop? Why did you stop kickboxing?
I mean, I wanted to pick it up again, but I just there's too much on in my life. I just had to sacrifice it.
And what A-levels are you doing?
I'm doing history, graphic design, and philosophy.
With a view to doing... Are you planning for university next year?
Hopefully the UCM.
On the Isle of Man?
Yeah.
And do you see a career in front of you?
Hopefully either history or something in visual arts.
Okay. What sort of visual arts?
Like digital art, like cartoon art mainly.
Okay. Well, I mean, we have an animation studio on the Isle of Man, don't we?
Yeah, Flicks.
In Flicks in Finch Road, I think it is, isn't it? Is it around there?
I think it's around that area, yeah.
Now, we used to have the makings of a cinema industry on the Isle of Man, but that kind of disappeared.
I can't say no about that.
Yeah, well, there used to be the what was it called? The Multimedia Centre in Peel that was really big, and we used to make films on the Isle of Man. We used to shoot films on the Isle of Man, and that's kind of disappeared. Do you think that's something that they should be looking to bring back?
I think. Well, I mean, I suppose so. I don't really know much about the movie industry, personally.
When you say cartoons and animations, have you got any particular favourites in cartoons and animations?
I mean, I remember a while back I studied a bit of Disney in order to refine my style a bit more.
Yeah.
I'm wanting to go into animation a bit more. I'm not really good at it at the moment. But, I had to study Disney style in order to refine my own art style.
Good. Vinn, you wanted to raise a point?
Yeah, I think it's quite surprising the fact that actually the Isle of Man isn't being used a lot more for movies lately. I remember that in 2015 there was BBC actually ran a whole project on the Isle of Man to film a movie called Mindhorn that took place entirely in places like Laxey and Peel and I think even Douglas some parts. And I think it actually did pretty well. It received a pretty good pool in the box office afterwards. But as of late, I think since probably around when COVID hit, it just closed off the Isle of Man to the movie industry for some reason.
Well, it was big at one time. They used to be making upwards of 12, 15, 20 films a year that were shot on the Isle of Man. They gave them tax breaks, but they kind of disappeared. Everybody else picked up the tax breaks, and the government here didn't want to jump in with tax breaks. So our kind of capacity for doing that has disappeared.
Yeah, I think perhaps it just has to do with the fact that at the moment there are other priorities that need to be tended to instead.
Okay.
I can't say much myself because I'm not too up to date with it all, but I do see the impact.
Okay, I keep calling you Lubo. What's your full name?
Lyuboslav.
Lubo. So you wanted to say something?
I would like to speak as an aspiring actor. I know quite a bit about the topic which you picked up about the government. So this movie industry, which started on the government, was based on the funds which the government was allocating towards any production that decides to use the government as the Ireland as its position.
Yeah.
And they would give a certain amount of funds, which is like a set amount for depending on what type of production and how big it is. But then they, even before COVID, they stopped doing that, and that's why those companies which relied on those funds and maybe, like as you mentioned, the studio place, I've never actually heard about the studio, but like it all ceased to exist because they pulled away those funds for creativity, and I believe it, as you mentioned before, you asked, you asked them, do you feel like it would have been beneficial or something like that to have it now? I believe it would have been, because now as an aspiring actor I've got no other options than to go into musical or theatre. I can't go into film if I don't go abroad.
As an aspiring actor, who's your favourite actor?
Ryan Reynolds. I love him. He's just like he's got this energy and this human nature. Like you see him and you don't, when he recreates to say Deadpool, his character is human. You can see a human within them. He's not like one of those idealistic superheroes that never has any mistakes or flaws. It's like you see those flaws and those human nature within them, and this makes me feel like I get to see some part of myself within those characters he recreates.
We're live at Ballakermeen and back in just a few moments' time.
Welcome to the Miller Chaps of Ramsey Summer Sale, where you'll find fabulous reductions throughout the store, from beds and flooring to sofas, cane furniture and accessories, rugs, pictures, mirrors and even wallpapers. Plus, the friendly Miller Chaps team are here as always with a warm welcome and expert help and advice when needed. Don't miss the Miller Chaps of Ramsey Summer Sale, now on.
Creating a home where you'll love to be. Miller Chaps of Ramsey.
Every drop is precious. Water. So easy to take it for granted, isn't it? Our reservoirs supply the needs of our island, but with the effects of climate change, that's becoming more challenging every year. Manx water is the only water we have, so we need to make every drop count by using it wisely, at home, in the garden and in general. Visit manxutilities.im to find out how you can begin smarter living, to lower energy bills and reduce your impact on our island environment.
Singers, dancers, musicians, performers. Put your hands together for the Young Stars of Man, Thursday 27th July at the Villa Gaiety. A live variety show showcasing the incredible talent of our island. Presented by and raising funds for I'll Listen, the young person's mental health charity. Tickets available now at villagaiety.com or on 600 555. The Young Stars of Man, supported by Simcox.
Half a century on from the fatal inferno that destroyed Summerland, a series of 3 programmes on Manx Radio.
When I saw the fire actually start, there was a small puff of grey smoke that came from a hut alongside of it.
Why was Summerland built? A multi-million-pound solarium on a small island of hills, glens and beaches.
This is William Hardcastle, and later in today's World at One, why did Summerland burn so fiercely and so cruelly?
What happened on that August night?
Well, there's fire brigade at the top now. There's another fire engine coming along. Here comes the police now.
And what now? Where does Manx tourism go from here? Summerland, the full story, coming soon.
This is the Mannin line on location.
Look at that time, 22 minutes ahead of 1 now with the students of Ballakermeen High School. Gary wants to talk about the TT.
Yeah, I wanted to say how great the event is on this island. It's for tourism 100%. I mean, we get 50, 60, probably more thousand tourists over to watch it, and it's a great way for the island to make money, and it's the atmosphere in general during the TT. It's great. It's it doesn't feel like you're on the island. You've got all the tourists around. You've got loads of events, but the problem with that is we get the only time the island has events such as like during the TT is like not on the TT. We don't get any. Like once TT's over, we don't have much to do really. I mean, we can't watch the bikes. There's no fair for the people who are in the younger generation. There's no concerts like a few years ago when Rag and Bone Man and whoever came over as well. So,
do you watch the bikes or do you just like the atmosphere?
The bikes, I definitely.
You like the bikes? Where do you stand?
Quite a few places. My favourite spot's Cronky Valley Straight, just after Glen Helen, and I go to the grandstand quite a lot as well and just watch them start. I got a start line pass this year, so you can actually stand in the pits while they take off, and that was
okay. Anybody else got anything to say about the TT? Gavin?
Well, I think, like, agreeing with what Gary said, the TT is this amazing event for the Isle of Man. It is once off. I think I've travelled, like, if you travel anywhere outside of the Isle of Man and you say, do you know the Isle of Man? They'll say no. And then you say, do you know the TT? And it's, oh yeah, that place. It really puts the Isle of Man on the map, especially for motorbike fans. And I think sometimes with all these events going on, I worked with Bushies during the event. There's trackside. What
did you do at Bushies?
I was a pourer, so I was in the back pouring everyone's pints like a ledge. And I think sometimes during TT, when everything is so lively and us as young people can go out and do things, there's the fair, there's things to do. I think we forget sometimes that should happen year round.
Okay, Ellie?
I think the other side of the TT is how it affects us as young people. So I live on the course where when the roads are shut, I can't get out, I can't go anywhere other than my house. And I sat one of my A-levels this year, and it was actually on a race day, and it was in the afternoon. And so I had to be at the house by 9 and then had to wait to sit my A-level till 1. And then in the background, all we can hear was the bikes. And sadly, it was the day that rider sadly passed away that was killed this year. And we could just hear the helicopters coming backwards and forwards. And it's quite off-putting to be sitting your exams and have the TT going on. Like I know St Ninians, for example, they are physically on the course and that's all they can hear. And I think that's the only bad thing about the TT is how it affects us in education when sitting exams.
Jenna?
I think the TT's great. I know all my family come over for it and they really, really enjoy it. And I think one of the great things about it, as Gavin mentioned, it gives young people a bit more like opportunity to do stuff. Obviously, because we've got the fair and all that sort of stuff, but it's more because I think other times in the year, young people kind of don't have anything to do over here, and they get sort of, obviously when you pass your driving test or whatever and you want to go out with your friends, I think people, like especially our plates, as we all mentioned before, they get quite like slated, I think, over Facebook and Instagram, but I think some people, like older generation, I don't think they realise that there's nothing really for us to do, or do you know what I mean, go and sit with your friends at Douglas Head, or there's nothing. So I think TT is a brilliant thing, like for the island.
Okay, Lily?
I feel like, just as an aside, I think a big thing that we as an island could try and do was to try and make the TT more of a thing for the younger generation, because I know that obviously we have the fair, but I feel like for some people they're just more interested in the fair rather than the actual bikes or the sidecars or anything. And obviously, like, we can't ride because we're younger or whatever, but I feel like trying to push that, because when you go to like the grandstand or whatever, it's all just like older people who are interested, and our generation is just less so. So I feel like trying to big that up to us as well would be a good thing.
What do you think they should do?
I feel like, I don't know, people coming in, even like we have obviously Connor Cummins and things. His wife works here, which is really nice. I feel like them coming into schools, talking to us about it, and make it seem like a really exciting thing for more the bikes and not just everything else.
Okay, Lubo?
I would like to speak about the negatives of the TT, which my family has witnessed, and one of the positives is we actually came on that one because of the TT, and then the negatives are that like the TT, although the safety provisions are not good enough for the people. Like those motorbikers, they go through popularized cities with big populations, such as Douglas. They start off the Douglas, and there are many people which lose their lives within those. Like some of the audience people, if you're in the audience, you wouldn't expect to lose your life, but it happens that, like, was it yesterday when my mom or the other day when some race was happening, which was probably going along the TT tracks, and then some people went in the audience, and then
that was on the Southern 100. That was on the Balloon course in the south.
And then like the provisions for safety are not good enough, and then there are nobody asks you, do you have work to do? Do you have, like, your employers expect you to reach your workplace? Like my mother, who can't reach her workplace during the TT, they expect her to reach it, and somehow she has to find a way. Or maybe animals, like there are lots of animals. The island promotes you having a pet. Like my dog, and I've seen other dogs, like people's pets run away out of their homes. They're afraid of the sounds, and then we have to take into account that there are people who are afraid of those things as well, and it goes through major cities.
Okay, Vinn?
Yeah, as someone who isn't the biggest sport fanatic, I do kind of see both the positives and negatives of the TT, because on one hand, as Gary mentioned, it does bring in a lot of money for the Isle of Man, so much so that if we got rid of it, it might have a pretty heavy economic impact. But at the same time, you know, as someone whose parents work in the hospital, I do tend to hear a lot of the stories about the impacts that the accidents end up having on family members and the hospital strain. Because remember that during the TT, we don't actually get extra medical facilities, but about 3 times as many people to have to take care for, on top of the fairly tricky medical emergencies that people have to stand by for at all times during the race.
Anna, are you a TT fan?
Not really, no.
What do you think does the island liven up during TT, do you think?
I think it does liven up. Like, I'm not against the TT, I'm just not that interested in it.
But do you take part in, outside of the TT, there's all the fun that goes with it. Do you take part in that? Do you use that?
Well, this TT...
You didn't work at Bush's or anything, did you?
No, this TT was like right before a mock, so didn't really have much chance to go out. I went to the fair once, but it was a bit overpriced and crowded.
How much was it?
Oh, it was like £6 for one ride, so I only went on one.
£6 a time?
Yeah.
You didn't have any candy floss or anything?
No.
No. Is it mainly locals who go to the fun fair, or did you see tourists there?
I saw a lot of younger children there. I don't know.
Gavin, were you at the fun fair?
Yeah.
Outside of pouring beer?
Yeah, well, obviously I went and it was very, very expensive. It was ridiculous. But if you wouldn't mind, I was just going to go back to what Lubo said about being against the TT. I think it's very contentious. Again, what Vinn said, that there's tragedy and it kills people. But I think the riders especially know what they're getting into. You know when you stand by the side of a TT course with the fastest, most dangerous motorbike race in the world, one of the fastest road and most dangerous road races in the world, you kind of know what you're getting into. Obviously, I'm not saying it is not at all a tragedy what's happened. It absolutely is. But to argue that we have to get rid of it or minimise it because of that is almost a shame, because I think getting rid of the TT would, like Vinn said, absolutely ruin the Manx economy. The whole island livens up during TT. You don't see that many people. Shops get more business. People get more business. There's more things to do. The whole island livens up, and we get a lot of money from
There's
that.
been chat about the TT for 50-odd years since it lost its World Championship status. There's been talk about the TT being got rid of, but it seems to survive all the time. And it's the original extreme sport. I mean, it is the sport, but the margins for error are tiny, and the implications for failure are obvious. They're fatal.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole sport is incredibly dangerous. But things
and
like...
is that its attraction, the fact that it is really dangerous?
Obviously, it has to be, partly. I mean, there's obviously the sense of fame and wonder and being that one who won the TT, the most dangerous ride in the world. I think that comes with it. The skill
Gavin,
required...
There's no money in it. I mean, if you win a race, you will get £20,000, and your average Premier League footballer gets £200,000 a week.
The viewership's different. We can't... Obviously... I mean, if you want to argue about who deserves what money, I'd say that Premier League footballers' money should be going to doctors and hospitals, but no one's that interested in doctors and hospitals as football. It is the biggest sport in the world, and I think it's the same with the TT, the incentive to... It's more than the money for the TT, it's about the skill. We've all, if we drive on the Isle of Man, anyone here has driven on the roads that the TT is held on. It's incredible. You go... the learner limit and the restricted R-plate limit is 50 miles an hour. You go that and you realise it's difficult. It becomes difficult to keep control, to keep your eyes on the road. To do that at 180 miles an hour, the skill, the power behind it, the determination and the bravery, I think, is incredible, and I think that should remain celebrated.
Gary?
Yeah, going back to what you said about the amount of money they make from it, I was going to go on to that. I do agree that they should have a bigger reward, and I get that they do it for adrenaline. They don't do it for the money. They do it because they want to go on a bike as fast as they can on a dangerous course. But at the end of the day, I get they get money from sponsorships as well, but there's don't get enough money for it, 100%.
In a world when we're surrounded by health and safety regulations and risk mitigations, I mean, a lot of people who don't get the TT simply don't understand why people would want to risk their lives just to go at 180 or 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, definitely.
What would you say to somebody who didn't quite get the TT?
I would say to them that I don't know what I would say to them. I would say the riders are mental. That's what I'll say. The riders are they're mental. Like what is going through their head to go, I want to ride my bike on this course in a race.
What do you feel when you watch the TT?
Oh, I get goosebumps every time a bike goes past. It's like, it's incredible. It's definite. I absolutely love the TT.
Okay, finally, Ellie?
Look, I wanted to go back to the health and safety of the TT. So I'm lucky enough that my dad's a chief sector marshal for a sector in the TT course, and the amount of stuff he does for it gives up his time to just the amount of health and safety precautions there are for the marshals in particular. There's fire suits, there's everything. Like, we'll have our entire dining room full of stuff for the TT nearing TT week, and it's just like, I'll go out with them and I'll help put everything in the boxes, and the training they receive is just like, they're all first aid trained, they all know what they're signing up for. But it's just the dedication of them to be able to let this sport happen, I think, it goes without mentioning a lot that these people are giving up their time and potentially, as we saw earlier this week, risking their lives to do it. And I think that's one of the things, it like brings the community closer in a way during the TT.
Okay, Tommy, I mentioned this to everybody before we went on air. Do you have a role model in life? Is there somebody you look up to?
I mean, I could just do the cop-out thing and say someone like Ewan McGregor, because I love him as an actor, but I'd say role model, I'd have to say my dad, because, you know, not even, more in the way of, I don't really know how to describe it other than, you know, it's you can be nice to everyone, you can get along with everyone, and that's kind of what I strive for. Plus, people mistake him for Bradley Cooper, which I wouldn't mind.
Okay. Lubo, who's your role model?
My role model
apart from Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, apart from Ryan Reynolds. I'm going to go with the trend that Tommy said, and I'm going to go with my grandfather, as the trend of family, I mean. My grandfather actually was... He was an art teacher, and I grew up with him as my father instead of my actual father, who was constantly sailing. So my dad used to help my mom financially, and my granddad would come and help us with groceries, which he would bring from my village. He would bring me to his school, and then I'll be educated into art for very advanced students, and I'll get to see so many people. And my granddad gave me all this love and everything, and he still does.
Okay. Vinn?
Yeah. So, you know, it feels honestly a little bit strange after Tommy and Lubo say how one of their family members is their role model to not follow the trend, but not
go with what you think.
Not that I don't love my family, I do very much, but I think role models for me are people that I can observe and want to follow in their footsteps. So. A big one for me would be the comedian Taylor Tomlinson, because she was recently diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and for a while it made her very self-conscious, but it wasn't long before she was able to laugh it off and actually make it a staple part of her identity, which I think is incredibly respectable, to be able to actually incorporate something that a lot of people would drag down as a key part of them, and actually, you know, make it a positive.
Okay, Lilea-Mae?
I think that one of my biggest role models is my dad. I think you don't understand how much you appreciate them and look up to them until they're not around all the time. And my dad's off travelling at the moment. I haven't seen him in a few weeks, and it's really impacting me because he's not there to sort of like lead me and give me advice.
Okay, Anna?
Things like that.
Well, obviously there's people I look up to, but I don't have one role model, because I think it's dangerous to see someone as perfect, because no one's perfect, and if you idealize someone as perfect, then you'll always feel imperfect. So I think everyone's role model should be their future self.
Okay, Aaron?
I'd have to say both my parents, because they have quite a can-do attitude, an attitude of just get on with it, just that sort of, what's the word? Just a very can-do attitude, that's all really.
Okay,
They're very ambitious.
Lisa?
I definitely need to agree with Anna, because I think that it's wrong to try to find some perfect person who you want to follow and do what they did. I think most important is to look how did you do yesterday, how did you do a year ago, and compare it with you now and realize, are you doing better or you're doing worse, and what you have to change.
Okay, everybody else has got 10 seconds. Gavin?
I feel a bit late to the bandwagon on this. I'd have to say my parents. I know they're probably listening into this and judging everything I say. Hi mum, hi dad. But absolutely, they're the ones that set the example. I wouldn't be who I am
Gary?
without them.
My parents, definitely. They've raised me and my siblings like I can't explain to you how much they've done for us. They've done everything possible that they can possibly do for me and my siblings.
Maddy?
Definitely my little brother. Like, he's at the moment he's like top 10 I think in the whole of the UK for swimming, and just to have that amount of like drive and like determination for something, it's really inspiring.
Jenna?
I'd definitely say my mum. My mum's my best friend.
Okay, Daniel?
My dog, because he's very relaxed, I wish I was like...
What's the name of your dog?
Benji.
Benji. Ellie?
Sorry mum and dad, but I'm going to have to go with just my teachers in general, just because they're so amazing and they guide us every day and they're helping me achieve my dreams.
Okay, and Lily?
Yeah, I adore my parents, but I was thinking of my primary school teachers who just brought me up so much from like literally nothing to who I am today, so I really appreciate that.
Okay, appreciate that. Thanks to everybody at Ballakermeen High School today. Of course, a week today, school is out, so it's countdown till this time next Friday. Have a great break. We'll be back at Ballakermeen in the autumn. In the meantime, thanks to the students of Ballakermeen.